Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked to present the farewell speech, which, of course, at my age could have a double meaning. I'm hoping that my farewell speech may actually be a hello moment for many of the retailers in this room as we explore the need to transition from our existing product-oriented DIY stores to more customer-centric, service-oriented project stores. So if I can get this to work, we'll get started. I recently saw a cartoon where a lady mentions that a brick-and-mortar store is closing its doors after being open only 2 years. Her friend asks why, and she replies that people are now shopping on the internet. And then she adds that this particular brick-and-mortar store actually did sell bricks and mortar. Well, folks, our stores are the quintessential brick and mortar stores, and they are in danger of becoming passé. There's an urgent need to reinvent the DIY home center. Just this year, 29 American retail chains have announced that they're closing almost 5,000 stores. The excuse in every case is stated to be the impact of e-commerce. Oh, really? Is it that simple? Sure, e-commerce has in fact raised the bar on customers' expectations, but the real issue goes way beyond e-commerce. The fact of the matter is that these retailers are simply failing to delight their customers. Customers are changing their lifestyles and shifting their demand from products to services. Meanwhile, these retailers have continued to open new stores in a slow-growth economy without properly responding to the changing marketplace. The truth is, the customers are simply rejecting this blind retail insolence. A recent survey showed that 30 to 50% of customers state that they hate to shop at stores. In fact, most of them would rather do the dishes or the laundry. No wonder they gravitate to the internet, but why should it be more satisfying to shop alone with a small computer screen than to experience the multisensory environment of a real store? This conundrum is about enhancing customer shopping experience. It's a call to reinvent the brick-and-mortar store. It's an opportunity to create positive change. Internet retailers saw early that they needed to provide customers with the right art and product information, wide assortments, and immediate availability. They knew that delivery to the customer's home and job site had to be a core competence. Customer-centric websites were imperative. Meanwhile, too many brick-and-mortar retailers took their customers for granted by worshiping at the altar of the status quo and watched their customers go somewhere else for service. It was never really about pricing. It's always been about convenience and service. There's a sad history of truly great retail companies that ultimately failed. These companies began as merchandising-oriented stores who found new ways to delight their customers. Sales grew and new stores were quickly added. However, these stores eventually became operations-oriented with an unhealthy acceptance of the status quo. The result was continued store growth, but without innovation, resulting in diminishing returns on investment. This led to the financial stage where resources were reallocated. In other words, the stores were closed. How sad that this pattern is so often repeated. The famous American author Mark Twain was quoted as saying, "The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated." I believe that this can be said for the widely accepted belief that brick and mortar stores are now obsolete. Big box home centers actually have a great potential for future growth. However, the impact of demographics and technology will require that the DIY store of the present must reinvent itself to become the store of the future. The point is that the home center business has changed, and the question is, have you? It's true that whenever an individual or business decides that success has been achieved, progress stops. The retail business is dynamic with constant changes. E-commerce has certainly changed the customer service expectations. Smart home will dramatically change the product mix in our stores. Artificial intelligence will change the way we operate our stores. And finally, digital marketing will change how we communicate with our customers. The only constant in the retail world is, in fact, change. So let's embrace innovation and exploit these changing opportunities. Over the past 50 years in the U.S., the home center industry has seen a progressive evolution, starting with relatively small traditional home centers that were based on convenience and were focused on the DIY customer. The next revolution began when Home Depot opened its first big box warehouse store in 1980, based on product dominance and focused on the DIY and pro customers. Today, our stores must transition to a service-oriented home center based on project competence. This will require embracing new technologies in order to provide the key services required. This week, we've seen an array of new ideas and new tools that are available to better serve our customers. We must avoid seeing these tools as something in the external universe outside our stores. We must not, in effect, divorce our brick and mortar stores and chase the Amazon business model, but rather, we must once again fall in love with our stores and use these digital tools and the internet to provide new ways to delight the customer's shopping experience in our stores. Technology and the internet are our friend. So then, why are so many stores losing money in their omni-channel business? JDA recently stated that 84% of their omni-channel retailers reported losing money. These retailers are just now realizing how naive their revenue and cost assumptions were. They see their working capital tied up in inventories to serve the long tail of e-commerce. They have found logistics systems requirements to be costly and are surprised at the rising cost of labor and transportation and shipments both to and from their customers. The genie is out of the bottle and can appear quite frightening. The dilemma facing many retailers is that they must embrace and implement e-commerce programs in order to defend and grow their market share, but in the process they discover their margins are falling due to transparent price competition and significant unforeseen cost. Many of these retailers have taken the expedient but unprofitable path of implementing an e-commerce program that's not integrated into their core business. The result is often product assortments and pricing that are not synergistic to the company's core strategy and brand image. The goal seems to be a wild chase for more and more SKUs with no underlying understanding of true consumer demand or cost. The only rationale seems to be that, well, everybody's doing it. To make matters worse, top management allows this situation to continue in order to brag to the press and investors that they are, in fact, a modern, progressive company. The result of bad experience can result in good decisions. Target stores in the U.S. has recently come to the conclusion that they're not going to add products to their website simply because they exist. Smart thinking realizes that not everything that can be done should be done. We must have a synergistic, balanced approach to the digital world. Let's consider our digital competence as a table with 4 legs. The first leg that comes to mind, of course, is e-commerce. But we must put equal emphasis on the communication and promotions leg, and also on the inspiration and how-to leg. And finally, we must focus on the leg that draws the customer from their easy chair at home into our store aisles. This is the store connectivity leg. Our digital table needs to be balanced on all four legs. Home Depot is considered one of the top e-commerce retailers in the world. This success required smart investments in technology and logistics. It required the marriage of the physical store and the e-commerce into one core business model. It required that all systems in procurement, marketing, logistics, store operations become integrated into what Depot calls interconnected retailing. This interconnected approach, of course, involves e-commerce, but much, much more. Tools are now available to present customers with endless aisles of new products. The store ambience can now become more inspirational. Product data can be integrated into portable electric devices that educate the customer while facilitating order placement. The store can become a logistics hub to hold incoming e-commerce products for customer pickup and act as a processing point to deliver more products to the customer's home and job site. The stores themselves are convenient and efficient product return depots. We now have so many new and better ways to serve our customers. Yes, the internet indeed is our friend when integrated into our store operations. E-commerce is probably the best thing that ever happened to the big box home center because it enabled us and forced us to give better customer service. This chart shows the rapid growth of e-commerce on a global scale. The red arrow shows an upward projection that causes many people to make the mistake of believing that this upward line will just increase to infinity, with the demise of the brick and mortar store. However, there's also a black arrow on this chart that shows the percentage change in growth of e-commerce year over year, which is declining. The interaction of these two lines indicates that e-commerce growth will not absorb all retail sales, but rather level off to an important integrated segment of the retail business. This is particularly true for us in home improvement retailing. This worldwide trend is exactly the pattern we see in the e-commerce business of the German DIY home centers. E-commerce should not be considered a new channel of distribution, but rather an integral piece of our interconnected retailing commitment to customer service. Last year, in the U.S., the volume of home improvement products represented by e-commerce was only 3.8% of the total sales in that category, while the e-commerce market share for retail in general was more than double that amount. The optimistic projection by CRC Information Systems is that e-commerce home improvement products could reach a potential U.S. market share of 15.8%, which is very close to the Cleveland number that was given yesterday. This means that most home improvement products and services will continue to be store-based. So think of a dog. The body is the store. His tail is e-commerce. The tail has a purpose, but the tail should not wag the dog. The big box home center remains the most effective channel of distribution for high-cube, low-value products, which are a huge share of our product mix. It also is a convenient place to pick up thousands of smaller, low-value repair items that are needed to maintain homes but are not cost-effective or timely to ship individually. The physical store can now be an idea center that actually expands the demand for many new projects. The service-oriented home center is the best place to talk with experts who can help design, procure, deliver, and even install home improvement projects. There's a common opinion that all retailers must in the future have smaller stores due to the impact of e-commerce. This is not necessarily true of the big box home center. The digital revolution will provide tools to actually increase the average store sales. The reduction of in-stock SKUs will allow new space availability for showrooming of inspirational products and for the logistics to expedite shipment processing from within the store. The home center box may remain big, but the space will be reallocated to new and more productive uses. The Harvard Business School recently printed a book entitled Retail Revolution: Will Your Brick and Mortar Store Survive? It showcases 3 distinct types of retailers. Stores represented by bookseller Barnes & Noble find that they must downsize and, in fact, close their stores. Stores represented by electronics seller Best Buy find that they must completely change their business model in order to survive. The third example is represented by Home Depot, who the authors of the book say may experience minor loss to digital marketers, which can be more than offset by embracing technology and implementing new services that create project sales. That, my friends, is the answer. Amazon represented 53% of all e-commerce growth in the US last year, but tools and home improvement represented only 4% of Amazon's growth. The chart on the right shows the limited impact of online sales in garden and building material sectors, both now and over the next 5 years. There is a window of opportunity to clearly establish the Service Home Center as the portal for all home improvement products and services. It's been said there is room enough in this world for more than one river. Not all streams flow into the Amazon. When it comes to home improvement retailing, there are some great American and European home centers, many in this room, and many in the top 10, and Amazon is not one of them. Amazon is not really a virtual store. It's heavily investing in brick and mortar at a furious rate. They call their brick and mortar facilities fulfillment centers, sortation centers, delivery stations, and prime hubs. Their obvious goal is to position their hubs ever closer to the customer's home. Fortunately, we're already there. We call our hubs stores. Amazon would love to have our locations. We need to maximize this advantage by thinking of our stores as one link in the supply chain from our vendors to our customer's home or job site. Our stores cannot be logistic dead ends. We must own the last mile between our stores and our customers. We must redefine our role to be the total project source, and here is how we do it. First, both DIY and pro customers must be able to transition between the store and the internet seamlessly. This requires the merging of our digital expertise into the core brick and mortar organization. The integration of all systems is mandatory, putting the customer in charge of how they wish to buy and how they wish to take delivery. The store and its staff must become digitally competent, and the store must take ownership and be budgeted for both in-store and e-commerce sales. There is now a wealth of information on the websites that is simply absent on the sales floor of most of our stores. We must migrate this information from the internet into great in-store point-of-purchase displays in order to make the shopping experience in the store easier, smarter, and more enjoyable. We have to turn on our customers by turning on our stores. We must provide our salespeople with the right tools to provide customers with the right information. Today's customer is smarter and better informed, and our salespeople must be techno-savvy and rise to this occasion. We must incorporate technical training into our orientation and educational programs. Our data banks must include product data, pricing, inventories, inspiration, and how-to advice. We must have custom apps for our salespeople, the DIYer, and the professional customer. The Store of Future will be able to expand its area for inspirational and educational displays as in-stock SKUs are reduced. The customer will be able to see, touch, and experience more product choices. Today's customers want customization and personalization of their projects. That's perfect. We can do that. The service-oriented home center will provide the customer with exactly this kind of intimate shopping relationship. The missing link in so many stores is completing that last mile from store to home or job site. This must become a core competence. I assure you that if Amazon owned our stores, the link would be complete from store to home. We must be able to consolidate projects and deliver 7 days a week with service that's on time, complete, and undamaged. There is now a digital imperative to provide connected devices for the smart home. Smart home technology will have a sea-change impact in regards to products and services. Some experts predict that in 3 short years, the average U.S. home may have as many as 500 interconnected devices. Most of the light bulbs, light switches, security alarms, door lock sets, appliances in your stores today are already obsolete. A commitment to smart home requires much more than the token end cap that I see in most stores. Advanced technologies using artificial intelligence are already being tested in the Lowe's stores in the U.S. This includes robots that can direct the customer to the products they wish, and virtual hologram presentations where the customer can visualize their completed project before it exists. Lowe's is also experimenting with technology that provides the customer's smartphone with a visual path that directs the customer through the store in the most efficient pattern for the customer to quickly find all the items on their project list. We must be willing to take the customer's project from start to finish without dropping it. We must provide our employees and customers with software that facilitates the design of projects and then manages the fulfillment of those projects. In design, we need configuration software and electric catalogs. In fulfillment, we need new quick ship supply chains and project management tools to assure complete 100% satisfaction in the delivery and installation of those projects. And of course, we need the people who are qualified to use these new tools. The population in the developed world is aging. This demographic change is predictable and can be seen in the charts on the left. The chart on the right shows the reverse correlation between age and the propensity to do a DIY project. The obvious conclusion is that the do-it-yourself market is mature with little upside, while the do-it-for-me customer is the real growth opportunity for the future. We see in the American market that there's 2 population bulges, the very old and the very young. The very old are reformed DIYers who are now do-it-for-me advocates. The younger group is the Uber generation that's come to expect high service levels and have a low propensity for home ownership. This bodes very well for the professional tradesman, but quite poorly for the home center that's focused solely on the DIY customer. Providing do-it-for-me services unlocks a huge potential in backlogged projects and creates a growth path for the future. This display at Home Depot puts the credibility of Home Depot's brand on being able to competently perform 35 major installation projects in their customer's home. The customer has options as to whom they will trust to provide the services that she requires. This includes the independent contractor, the home center store itself, and a growing multitude of internet brokers. We must have a plan to be relevant in each of these channels to the customer's home. We must become the front-of-mind portal for all home improvement projects. If the internet providers win the service war, it's only a matter of time before they control the product as well. Amazon clearly understands this as they launch their home services division. The old saying is that if a camel gets his nose in your tent, the whole body will soon enter. Well, the nose is already in our tent, and we need to push it back and make sure that our brand, our website, our store is the portal for all home improvement products. This Dilbert cartoon shows a CEO stating that the company's goals are to ship 1 million units. When asked if the company has goals to make the customer happy, he explains that his goals are quite different from his customers' goals. Well, it might be nice if we were in the good old days when we simply stacked products in our store, The customer happily served themselves, took the product home, and completed the project themselves. However, the customer's needs and expectations have changed. We must reaffirm our commitment to customer service. Yes, we should always try to keep our business as simple as possible. And yes, the customer is demanding increased services that will, in fact, increase the complexity of our business. And yes, the customer is always right. And therefore, the customer's goal must be our goal. Once we take the quantum jump to confident service execution, we must communicate this new benefit to our customers. We must define our sustainable, compelling, competitive advantage and turn it into an emotional story and make sure that 100% of our target market gets this new message. People don't buy goods and services. They buy relations, stories, and magic. Print advertising in the past has been the backbone of retail promotional efforts. However, using print media today is like driving a horse and buggy on the Autobahn. This chart shows that digital communications have clearly replaced print advertising for most advertisers. When the media changes, so must the message. Print advertising invariably focuses on item, price, limited sale advertising. That is the old way of promoting. I think we all know how well that worked for Practica. The new focus on digital media allows and demands a new trust message that's oriented to brand and image. Remember, people do not buy goods and services, they buy relations, stories, and magic. Fortunately, the big box home center is the sweet spot in the retail business today. We remain the destination source for the home improvement customer. The exciting news is that we can both protect our market share and foresee incredible new growth opportunities by embracing the changes made possible through digital technology and smart logistics. The imperative is that our core DIY business model must transform from product dominance to project competence. While our core business may remain DIY, our future growth must come from projects created through e-commerce, installed sales, and the pro business customer. The Service Home Center must be the portal for all projects large and small, regardless of whether it's a DIY or a pro installation. We must become the front-of-mind doorway the customer uses to obtain complete solutions for any and all home improvement needs. We must encounter the customer at the first idea stage of her project and take her all the way through to 100% completion and satisfaction. One last comment. A service-oriented home center must embrace a culture of customer service. Without the right company culture, all the technology we've discussed, everything you've seen this week, is worthless. We must hire the right people, train the right people, and most important, keep the right people. Thank you for your attention. Perhaps I've made some of you a bit uncomfortable with the current rate of change in your company. If so, I urge you to embrace the technology of interconnected retailing in your stores, and in the process, remember to not let the tail wag the dog. The service-oriented home center is the winning strategy, so let's get on with the noble task of improving the standard of living for our customers. And as they say in Washington, D.C., let's make our stores great again.